Hello everybody, welcome back to the Texas Podcast. Today we will be continuing on the regiments of the Texas Revolution. Today's regiment is the Alabama Red Rovers, or also known as the Texas Red Rovers. The Red Rovers, also known as the Alabama Red Rovers, were a volunteer military company that participated in the Texas Revolution as a unit of the Lafayette Battalion of James W. Fannon's regiment. It was organized by its captain, physician Jack Shackelford, at Courtland, Alabama in November 1835 in response to a plea for help that was printed in Huntsville's Democrat. The company was named for the fact that its members were uniformed in red pants, as a third of its Courtland's population had volunteered. The remaining citizens of the hamlet also mobilized in making the volunteer company uniforms. Ladies and children of the town made uniforms for their husbands, fathers, sons, nephews, cousins, or friends. There were two uniforms made, one for field use and other for dress. The field uniform consisted of caped hunting frocks and jeans made of rusty red dyed linsey woolsey, with a large hunting knife strapped to their hips and coonskin caps atop their heads. Their dress uniforms were red velveteen jackets and caps worn with white pants and a blue sash. The women of Courtland also presented the red-clad soldiers with a simple red banner to serve as the company guidon and dubbed the men the Alabama Red Rovers. The company, which mustered about 60 to 70 men, was equipped with arms and military supplies from the Alabama State Arsenal. The Red Rovers remained in camp at Courtland until December 12, 1835, when they started for Texas. When the Red Rovers boarded the mule-drawn train cars of the Tuscumbia, Courtland, and Decatur Railroad for the first leg of their journey to Texas, they likely became the first military force in the United States to be transported by rail. The track of the CD and DRR disembarked at Tuscumbia, where the company boarded the steamboat William Penn, which took them up the Tennessee River and over the Paducah to Kentucky, where the men transferred to the vessel the Kentuckian that carried them down the Mississippi River to New Orleans, where they landed on January 1, 1836, after being inspected by Stephen F. Austin and Nicholas Adolphus Stern. After a couple of days at New Orleans, the Red Rovers started the last leg of the journey to Texas upon the Brutus. The company arrived in Texas on January 19, 1836, and the Brutus deposited its seasick North Alabamian cargo at Dimmitt's Landing. The men remained at Dimmitt's Landing until accepted for Texas service on February 3rd. The Alabamians had about a 2-week retreat in their recent locale with their officers and could determine the garrison to which these men were to be sent. Finally, on February 4th, Shackelford and his men were ordered to go to Fort Goliad to meet up with the Texas Red Rovers, another company of Red Rovers made up in Goliad. They were publicly entertained when they arrived at Victoria on their way to Goliad. Physician Joseph H. Bernard accompanied the unit from Matagorda to Goliad, and on February 12th, the Red Rovers got their first glimpse of the solidarity and durability of the fort as they marched into Fort Defiance, the Texans' name for Presidio La Bahia. The Alabama Red Rovers were the last company to be sent to the garrison and were assigned to the Lafayette Battalion. During the Goliad campaign of 1836, they were sent on several local expeditions, including 2 to the Carlos Ranchos. On March 18th, they extricated Albert C. Horton's men from Arana Mansion, where they were besieged by the Mexican forces. After many ignored orders and pleas, Colonel James W. Fannin Jr. ordered the evacuation of the fort on March 19th. The Red Rovers were Fannin's vanguard on his exodus. Later in the day, the Mexican army surrounded the Texans in what became the Battle of Calito. At the Battle of Calito, the Red Rovers occupied the extreme right of the front side of the square and acquitted themselves like veterans. The next day, on Shackelford's 46th birthday, Fannin surrendered his men in arms to General Jose de Heredia. The unit was surrendered with Fannin's regiment, and Fannin's command was taken back to Presidio La Bahia and held as prisoners. Most of the men shared a common fate in the Goliad massacre. On Palm Sunday, March 27, 1836, all of Fannin's men that were well enough to travel were marched from the wall under false pretenses, and within a couple of miles of the fort they were halted and immediately massacred. The wounded at the fort were dragged out of the church and executed. Shackelford was spared for his medical experience, but his eldest son and 2 nephews were killed. Sources vary from 4 to 15 regarding the number of Red Rovers who were able to escape the gruesome death of their comrades. A handful of the men survived by being in advance and running from the bullets, or like Shackelford and Barnard, having medical experience. Jack Shackelford returned home to Courtland, Alabama, alone on July 9, 1836. That is all for the Texas Red Rovers. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.